You're tuned in to Smooth 98.1, your love music, love live station on a Monday morning. It's a brand new week, 5th day of May 2025, 32 minutes past 6 a.m. Great weather out there, mostly clear, 27 degrees Celsius. It's going to be a great week, and this is the perfect way to get things started with the Smooth Breakfast. Yours truly is Ayokunmi. And it's that time to talk business real quick. This is Business Express, and we're streaming live on YouTube. You can join us there. And of course, if audiovisual is your thing, YouTube is at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. You can also send your messages in to us on WhatsApp on 0809 0809 Those are the ways you can be part of Business Express this morning, brought to you by InterSwitch. We're talking about the real estate market this morning, specifically unlocking liquidity in Nigeria's real estate market. And joining me this morning to have that conversation is Ayo Ibaru. He's the CEO of NorthCourt Real Estate. Very good morning to you, Ayo. Great to have you on the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. Great to be
Absolute,
here.
absolute pleasure talking to, should I say, the big wigs when it comes to these particular matters. Yes, I would put you in that WhatsApp group. Let us begin, from this perspective, talking about land. It's an asset, as is always said, and I mean, whose value you don't realize until you actually sell. And when we talk about what's been going on lately in Nigeria's security situation, looking at Benue, Plateau State as well, the consensus is that these bandits, these terrorist criminals, are seizing land from the locals within that area. But the question then would be, what exactly are these individuals doing with seized land in these areas?
It's a very good question you asked, and good morning once again to the audience. So back in 1993, there was a theory. It's called the stationary bandit by Olson. It's a real theory. And what it says is bandits pretty much look for territorial control. It's like a power structure mechanism they're acting out. And the idea is they want to almost create like a sub-state and then run governance through that. They're not looking to, build anything or invest and grow an economy. You see, land value really goes beyond just holding it and having speculative potential and so on and so forth.
Okay.
What they want to do is ensure that they control a certain area of land and then start to operate have bases, extract like protection payments, and pretty much disrupt the entire environment. What that does essentially is it moves that area into the red zone, meaning no one's going to want to invest there. No one internally and no one from out of the country. So until that matter is resolved, we can't expect any investment there. Yeah.
Huh, okay, great start to the conversation. Now, bearing that in mind, looking at how the ownership of land in those areas is being changed, albeit forcefully. Is land ownership tracking data in Nigeria better today than years before, or are things the same?
I mean, in general, the answer is yes. It's a weak yes in general. But then when you,
Yes.
yes, but when you look at ownership tracking, you have three possible perspectives. One, you have spatial data tracking, and that, GIS and mapping and so on and so forth, which a few states are really doing a good job at. So the more you're able track spatial data, undulations, vegetation, and so on and so forth, the better for investments of a more divergent or a diverse kind. So Lagos, of course, Abuja, Edo, Nasarawa, Gombe, Cross River, they're doing a good job with that, and a few others. Then you have pricing data. Now, pricing data is led by the private sector, and that is pretty much head and shoulders above the other types of data that is being tracked in Nigeria. So you have private organizations in partnership with a few states. I know Oyo State is doing a good job with that. I also know Lagos State is doing a good job with that. The problem is you have these data sets in silos, and quite a number of private sector participants are yet to fully sync in terms of sharing data and so on and so forth. Thirdly, which is maybe the reason why the yes was so weak, is data around ownership. So ownership data, yes, because it's important to know who owns what for a market to be considered transparent and then attract significant funding for investment. So we don't have a centralized property ownership registry, which you need to be considered a serious market, as far as advanced countries are concerned. So in general, we have land ownership tracking data slightly better, but when you look at it from its constituent elements, we have a few areas that are doing really well, and then we have one or two areas that are really struggling. So yeah.
Oh, all right. I mean, this issue of data in Nigeria not being up to par or not being as accurate as it should be. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. But right now, I would love to shake, some tables here. I mean, it's never too early to actually shake.
Let's go for it. Let's go for
it's
it.
a Monday morning, so I mean, why not?
Let's go for it.
Now, I'm really, really curious to know why exactly is real estate this healthy pipeline or conduit for money laundering? Because when you see so many of these beautiful buildings in different areas in Lagos and all that, big, huge, they're empty, and then there's always this talk of it's used for some shady things and so on and so forth. Why is it such an attractive means to launder funds?
So the short answer is because with real estate, you can execute large ticket transactions very quickly. And you can do it anonymously. And ownership structures can be complex, or they can be made deliberately complex. So you hide the original owner or the eventual, or as lawyers would say, the beneficial owner. So high ticket transactions can be done really quickly. You can do it without anyone knowing. You can start exactly. And then, of course, you can do the ownership structure such that it obfuscates who the real owner actually is. Now, the longer answer is there's the opacity in real estate ownership index is by Transparency International. And there's one that came out recently, 2025. And honestly, everybody from the UAE to the United States has big problems with ensuring that real estate transactions are not used for money laundering. What you just said in the intro question, places being empty, places being occupied, it's the same thing in New York. You have examples like that in New York, in Miami, in London.
A Nigerian problem.
It is not. Nigeria is not in the top 20 countries in the world used for money laundering. Because when I hear these things, I wonder, do you know what? Look, let me not take too much of your time. The thing is, there are a lot of countries that have a lot of work to do in terms of ensuring that real estate isn't used for money laundering. But is it as an asset class? Yes, it is. Are there other classes of assets that are used for money laundering? Yes. Is Nigeria in the top 20 countries used for money laundering? No. But as with many things Nigerian, we make more noise than what's actually going on the ground. So yes. So what needs to happen? We have our agencies who need to identify these transactions and track them and ensure that they know who owns what, and they can track the source of funds, and that's what the EFCC is tasked to do. I think they're trying to do the best that they can, and we can only wait and see the kinds of outcomes that we get from.
All right. Thank you for clearing that one up. Now, going back to the issue of data that I mentioned earlier on, it's been bandied at different times about the 17 million units, for years, being Nigeria's housing deficit. But what is your estimate? Is it more? Is it less? Is it smack dab correct?
So there was a report that came out about 3 years ago, thereabouts, and it puts Nigeria's housing deficit conservatively at 28 million units, conservatively. I have private conversations with other researchers, and we are pretty much agree that it's a much higher number but we haven't done the exact study to back that up. So we'll just go with the conservative estimate of 28 million units. And it makes sense because if we are, depending on who you ask, anything between 200 and 230 million Nigerians, and we're growing at 2.4 to 3% per annum, then you look at, we are not, at the fact that we are not building up to, and I'm being generous here, 10,000 units per annum. There's a big problem. And this has been the case for the last, 5, 10, 20 years. So 17 million units is nowhere near what it is. We're looking at conservatively 28 million.
Okay, now that being said, what do you make of the the plans of the Ministry of Finance Inc. Real Estate Investment Fund and its multi-billion naira quest to build more homes and offer affordable long-term mortgages? I mean, is that feasible? Is that doable?
The short answer is we don't need numerical announcements in terms of naira values. We just need to know how many houses are built every quarter. If the Ministry of Finance Incorporated is going to see anything about housing, what we want to hear is either the number of houses that have been built, or the number of mortgages that have been created, or the number of developers that have been funded. You see this thing around, we raised 100 billion today. Look, Nigeria isn't a difficult place to raise money. Just look at the VC community. Look at what they've done over the last 10 years. Look at the fintech community. Everybody from Flutterwave. I mean, Paystack got into trouble and has been fined so much because of how much they have. I mean, so if we really want to be serious, we'll just commend them for what they've been able to do. It's a lot of work. Kudos to all the members of the team who were able to make it happen, but the clap won't be too much. It's like you have like an A minus. What we want now is like an A plus, right? So 250 billion is like an A minus, and we're happy for that. But between both of us, an A plus is better than an A minus. So how many houses? No one should say this number. I've been saying this thing. Please, we don't want to hear this number anymore. Just tell us how many houses you built. Tell us how many, because people are going home now, or people are coming out from homes that are nothing to write home about. It's not up to scratch. And we can't be carrying these numbers around. It's good, but 250 billion doesn't tell us how many houses are built. And this is a key issue for me. It's a key issue for my organization. We're passionate about this. Let's get homes built. And just to land that point, if we're not building 10,000 units per annum in Nigeria, we have a big problem. I didn't say 1,000. I know what I said. 10,000 units. We have to get to the point where we are manufacturing homes. We've been pushing this argument for about 5 years thereabouts. We can't be doing 10 units, 20 units, 1,000 units. What are we doing? So 250 billion is a good figure. I love it. We all do. But can we hear more about how many houses we can expect every quarter? How many mortgages can be created every quarter? Can we have a quarterly update just so that we know what to do and how to plan? I think it's a good thing they've done. No one will say they've not tried. They've done a good job. But let's speak from the perspective of the person who has the problem and not from the person who is telling us they can solve the problem.
Fantastic. They've done a good job, but they can definitely do more. Right. Very, very quickly, because time has actually, run out here, but I just need to get your thoughts on what Nigeria needs in order to have a deep, liquid mortgage industry. Very quickly.
Land title registration is a mess. That's the short answer. It's a mess. So that Land Use Act needs to be scrapped. This is the hill we will live on. We're not dying on the hill. We will live on that hill. Land title registration is a mess. The Land Use Act should go. Then we now need to look for ways to cushion the effects of our unstable economic circumstances, right? Because mortgages are 20, 30, 40-year agreements between parties. And so we have to create conditions that will foster that. And then once we get all the stakeholders involved, from the financiers, you see, people need to understand that the mortgage industry is a highly profitable industry. If it's not operational in a jurisdiction, it's not because no one wants to do it. It's because certain factors are not in play. Even our tenancy law needs to be worked on, right? Someone cannot stay in the landlord's house for 5 years or for 3 years and not pay rent because they had the bright idea of going to court to challenge some proviso when they knew their rent was about to expire. So land title registration needs to go. What can we do to stabilize the economy? And how can we ensure that the legal frameworks support a long-term mortgage environment?
All right, very well said. Thank you so much. I've been talking to Ayo Ibaru. He is the CEO of NorthCourt Real Estate. It's been a pleasure having you on the show this morning, Ayo.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to have spoken to you and your guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Have a great Monday and a very, very great week ahead. And thank you for being a part of Business Express this beautiful Monday morning on Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. You have to keep it tuned. More great music is coming your way as we journey along to 7:30. And of course, freshly pressed.
To you by EnterSwitch.